Hi, my name is Anjumanara Chaudhary and I am a senior at Fairchild Wheeler. I'm here today to advocate for the funding for Bridgeport Public Schools, specifically the education cost saving grant. That grant kind of pours into the education and it needs to be reevaluated to include a higher foundational cost, as well as remember that Bridgeport is a community that has a lot of need-based children, so we would need more funding.
Hi, my name is Delani Shepard. I'm a junior at Central Magnet, and I'm here to advocate for increased funding for Bridgeport Public Schools. I've lived in Bridgeport my entire life, so I've seen the effects, and I feel that there are a lot of individuals that need the support and the resources in order to prosper in the future.
My name is Jad Abuhaikal. I'm from Bridgeport Military Academy, and I've come here to advocate for the Bridgeport education system funding, and just to share a few experiences that I've had from BMA.
Education is a fundamental right, and the Education Cost Sharing Grant, or ECS, was created to reduce disparities between school districts to ensure that every student has equal access, equal educational opportunities regardless of their zip code. However, the way that ECS is implemented falls short of this promise. The ECS formula begins with the foundation, which is considered the minimum amount of money for educating a student without additional learning need. This amount is $11,525 per student and is completely arbitrary and is not based on any data or analysis of actual costs. Also, this amount has remained static since 2013 without adjusting for inflation and rising educational demands. Another important part of the ECS formula is student need-based weights, which are meant to provide additional funding for students facing challenges such as low income, language barriers, and learning disabilities. Bridgeport is the most populated city in Connecticut and considered lower income. Every year, the number of multilingual students increases. This directly affects the student need-based weights. Personally, I have heard from educators about the effects of the lack of funding. My physics teacher, shout out Mr. Kokek, shared that he has little to no lab equipment and has to build or purchase the materials himself to teach concepts. Although some topics can be improvised, others are simply too complex and need to be demonstrated to fully comprehend. Teachers themselves are forced to step in roles that they were never meant to fill. In underfunded districts, these teachers often become informal counselors, mentors, and social workers because of the lack of staff. This can be overbearing to uphold on top of their expected responsibilities, and they are simply not trained for these positions. To end, I'll ask you this. If you know that the ECS formula is outdated, do you truly believe that you're doing everything in your power to ensure every child has an equal chance to succeed?
Good afternoon. My name is Nigeli Roman, and I'm currently a senior at Bassick High School, and I'm the class valedictorian of 2026. I'm here today because the students of Bridgeport Public Schools deserve better. Bridgeport students on average struggle on state assessments. Only about 20% of students are proficient in English language arts, and about 12.5% are proficient in math. Some might assume that this is a student's fault and that we simply don't care or lack motivation, but that isn't true. Students do care. Students want to succeed. The real question is, how are we expected to perform at the same level as students in better funded districts when we don't have the same resources or opportunities? We are constantly compared to schools that have more funding, more programs, and more support systems. That comparison isn't fair when the playing field isn't equal. People say our district receives a lot of money, but students don't see that investment reflected in our classrooms, materials, or daily experiences. So we have to ask, where is that money going and why are students feeling its impact? The lack of resources doesn't just affect students, it affects staff too. Teachers, counselors, and support staff, the very people students rely on for academic help, guidance, and emotional support, have been cut in order to balance budgets. What may look like a financial solution on paper is actually creating real harm for students in practice. And what about ESL students? They deserve the same opportunities as everyone else, yet many don't have the access to resources they fully need to succeed. Education should be equitable and not selective. No student should feel like they're being placed on the back burner simply because they need additional support. Students in Bridgeport are intelligent, capable, and determined. We are not asking for special treatment, we are asking for fair investment. The kind that gives us a real chance to succeed, grow, and contribute to our community and state. Because when you invest in students, you invest in the future. Thank you.
A pleasant good afternoon to the members of Appropriation and to everyone else. I am Shanora Clark, a senior at the Bassick High School. I must express my gratitude for the opportunity to be here, to be the voice for many silent students of Bridgeport, specifically Bassick High School. Bridgeport has a dream to be someone, to make an impact on this community and in the world, and we need your help. In our schools, we're still in need. We're suffering daily with minimal resources in our classroom. Though Bassick High School has improved, we must still acknowledge and adhere to the struggles that are still active in our school. Our schools consist of students with special needs and multilingual learners. We need you to pour into us, to give us the resources that we need to be the teachers, electricians, lawyers, engineers of tomorrow. Our students, thank you so much.
Good afternoon, distinguished members of the Appropriate Committee. My name is Philip Sewell. I'm a sophomore at Fairchild Wheeler in Bridgeport. I am proud to be a part of the Bridgeport Public Schools community. I am testifying today on the government's proposed adjusted budget for 2027. I respectfully urge the General Assembly to increase education's cost-sharing foundation amount, which has remained frozen at $11,525 since 2013, and to modify the ECS formula so that it automatically adjusts each year for inflation. For more than a decade, the foundation amount has not kept pace with the real cost of educating a child. If it had simply kept up with inflation, it would be closer to $16,000 per student today. Meanwhile, transportation, utilities, wages, special education services, and multilingual learner supports have all increased significantly. When the foundation does not rise with inflation, districts are forced to absorb those costs locally, thus shifting the burden onto property taxpayers. In Bridgeport, this is a real consequence. Our district serves more than 19,000 students. We are the largest in Connecticut, and more than half of them require special education or multilingual learning services. Special education alone now exceeds $115 million annually, nearly 1/3 of the district's entire budget. Out of our district's placements can cost over $107,000 per student. Multilingual learners enrollment has grown dramatically in recent years, requiring bilingual teachers, translators, and family engagement support. As a student, I see firsthand what underfunding means. It means larger class sizes. It means stretched special education caseloads where teachers struggle to provide individualized attention. It means educational experiencing burnouts. Without increasing and indexing the ECS foundation, we are locking out districts into structural underfunding. Without increased investments, needs will continue to go unmet. Educators will continue to burn out, and young people's potential will be limited. Increasing and indexing the ECS foundation is not just an education policy decision, it's an economic one. Strong public schools reduce long-term social service costs, strengthen the workforce, and stabilize communities. Now it's time for real action. I urge you to increase the ECS foundation amount and permanently tie it to inflation so that all students, regardless of zip code, receive the resources they deserve.
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Evan Gebertin Saed. I am currently a senior at the Fairchild Wheeler Aerospace School, and I will be attending Columbia University in the fall. I came to the US when I was 8 years old from Eritrea, a country that knew no education. Arriving with no English, I first attended Louis Moniz Marin School and later Geraldine Johnson School, and was up to the school district and my community to shape my educational future. With the lack of resources throughout my school years, my teachers and principals have gone above and beyond, working tirelessly to ensure the success of me and my peers. In the beginning of the school year, I learned that Bridgeport had cut the library and media specialists. These classes had been so important for students like me, helping improve reading, writing, and English skills alongside ESL, which thankfully still continues. For many multilingual learners entering Bridgeport schools, these programs could mean the difference between falling behind or thriving. But now with these resources gone, these students will have to work even harder just to reach the same starting point. This issue extends beyond multilingual learners. It affects every student in Bridgeport. The effects of the outdated ECS formula are felt in classrooms every day. Teachers work incredibly hard, but many are not given the resources needed to teach at a deeper level and fully demonstrate what is in the curriculum. The ECS formula was designed to promote educational equity, yet many high-need districts still experience the reality of unequal resources. This is especially concerning for the younger generation, whose future begins to look unpromising if these conditions continue. The goal is to prepare students for higher education, but without proper funding, gaps in their educational experience become clear when compared to peers from other towns. Bridgeport Public Schools aims to give every student the chance to dream big and reach high, including my younger brothers. But without proper funding, this is not possible. Without proper funding, Bridgeport will not be able to hire great teachers and staff members. Without proper funding, we will not have the equal access to curriculums, technology, and resources. Without proper funding, the futures of countless students will be limited, not because of their talent or hard work, but purely because they were denied the resources they deserve. I hope you remember, when you're thinking about the budget, that real students, real teachers, and real futures are affected by these decisions, and that every student in Bridgeport deserves a fair chance to succeed. Thank you for listening.
Of the committee, my name is Israel Prevel. I am an Army reservist, constitutionalist, and an incoming freshman at the Southern Connecticut State University, and most importantly, a proud Bridgeport senior. One that has experienced student life from traversing the halls of Beardsley Elementary as a kindergartner to the thralls of Fairchild Wheeler as a senior. Not only the city in which I reside, but the great state that I am able to call my home. We are gathered here today in the name of discussion, which may only result in mere rhetoric per the state's track record. But we, the students, taxpayers, voters, and people, have come in the name of reform, demanding more than speech, demanding more than strenuous verbiage. We demand action. Action from both this committee and the chamber of which it resides, the chamber that is elected to serve the good people of this great state. I come unto you earnestly, asking that great consideration be placed into the ECS formula. Today's general discussion has been based mostly on the great lacking of funds insofar to the distribution on the state level. I would like to direct this conversation towards the elephant in the room, which the state has not only placed into the room, but in doing so attempts to disregard it. This elephant, of course, is the ECS, that being the Education Cost Sharing Formula. What was once seen as a beacon of an equitable distribution of funds, now monstrously fallen from its former glory, only acting as a measure of suboptimal distribution of funds. Members, hear me now if you haven't. We come due to the lack of funds, but why is it that we're lacking, if not due to the ECS formula? Yes, we are in need of funds, but even if we are granted them, this is only kicking the can down the road for the next administration and/or generation. This is why, most importantly, even greater than funds being allotted, we must not only advocate fervently and with haste, but cause reform of the ECS formula itself. We can start by implementing COLA into the ECS formula, which hasn't adjusted for inflation since 2013. My dear committee members, do you beg to hear the same rhetoric and witness the same public faces next year as you do now? That will be the result if the ECS formula is not changed. I plead with you, you elected officials, whom, being representatives, are to do the will of the people, not of the governing body. Think not of your upcoming elections, but rather gather your thoughts on the people, for we are Connecticut. There are no representatives without us. Therefore, make haste in your deliberations. We present to you an opportunity, one which may bear fruits greater than any seed that you have sown in your life. These fruits are the bedrock of young people's lives. How are we expected to produce an upstanding citizen when the school systems themselves are lacking a base for the citizen to stand on? Do not only give us funds, but give us a future. Give us ECS reform. Thank you.
As you can see, this is an exciting day for Bridgeport Public Schools. We've had student voice, as you just heard, to come to Hartford to advocate for funding for Bridgeport Public Schools. The students have a very passionate opportunity to give their testimonies this afternoon, to talk a little bit about the needs and the services that have been taken away over the last couple of years for Bridgeport Public Schools.